1988 this time. Last time I did 87, my favorite year. 88, not far behind. It was the first year that CDs outsold vinyl records. The Oilers beat the Bruins for the Stanley Cup Finals. We lost Roy Orbison and Chet Baker in the same year. And my little sister was born, and I was in high school. I'm Chris. This is Late Night Dead Wax. Welcome back. This is 1988. I picked 20 records from my collection that I really dig, and these are my favorites, just my opinion. I'm sure I missed some really good records from that year. If I did, drop them in the comments for me. I'm going to kick things off with from February. By the way, I've done these all in chronological order from the release dates. So these aren't like top to bottom my favorites. These are just in order, just made things more simple. So first up, Lita Ford's Lita. This came out in February. It was her first album on RCA Records, first with Sharon Osbourne as her manager, and just absolutely catapulted her. Before this, guitarist for the Runaways and all of that stuff. But she had two huge, massive hits on this record. Kiss Me Deadly and the duet with Ozzy Osbourne, Close My Eyes Forever. Next up, Tracy Chapman, self-titled. I did an entire video on how great this record is and sounds. If you want, you can check it out on my channel. There's not much more I can say. I mean, Fast Car is just absolutely insane, and this record sounds so good. It desperately needs a reissue, so hopefully it gets one. But yeah, this came out in April of 1988, and it's on my list. Next up, Erasure, The Innocents. This also came out in April of 88, and massive hits with Little Respect and Chains of Love. It was probably one of my favorite kind of synth pop from the 80s, and another one that I kind of rediscovered later. It's a great record, and it does sound good, and it's on my list of favorites, and on to the next. So up until this point, I know I've been blowing through them pretty fast. I got 20 of them, and I am going to take my time on this one. Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. Wow. This changed everything. I mean, I was a metalhead, and this was as close as I was ever going to get to prog, and just the best concept album. I know people are going to disagree with me. You know, there's a lot of good ones out there. But, man, this just blew my mind. And on this tour, I saw them open for Metallica. And big Metallica fan. And went into it thinking, oh, cool, Queensryche. They had a song on Headbangers Ball. Wow. Their stage performance was just absolutely insane. And since then, I've probably seen Queensryche at least half a dozen times. But this album, start to finish, so good. And it just really opened my eyes to a lot of different subgenres within the whole metal movement. And, man, still gets me. I still listen to this. I love this record. And on the same day as the Queensryche record came out, May 3rd, 1988, we got Living Colour's Vivid. Wow. This is just insane. The guitar work from Vernon Reid on this is incredible. And, man, it really sounds good. It's a good sounding record, and I absolutely love it start to finish. I mean, Cult of Personality is just absolutely huge. Or this album, it's on this list for a reason. I love it. And later in May, we got this, Van Halen, OU812. I was a huge Van Halen fan, early Van Halen, and it took me a little bit to warm up to the addition of Sammy Hagar. But looking back, I mean, there's some really good music. And this is a great album. This is a great album, start to finish. Um, it it was a different Van Halen, but at the end of the day, it was still great Van Halen. I really dig it, and I just picked this one up finally recently. I found a good copy, first press, and it sounds incredible too. You had to know there was going to be a Joan Jett record on here. I love Joan Jett. Up your alley. Also came out in May. Wow, May of 1988 was just absolute fire. And this was no exception. I Hate Myself for Loving You, Little Liar. I mean, it was a great record. This was a record store day edition. It's just such a pretty record. Still in June, Bring the Noise. Wow. Public Enemy. Takes a nation of millions to hold us back. What an absolute just gateway to hip hop for me. This just opened my eyes, and it started with Run DMC and the Beastie Boys, but man, when Public Enemy hit, changed everything. 1988, what a great record. Finally made it to June. In June of 1988, we got Paula Abdul's Forever Your Girl. What a great record. Man, just hit after hit, too. It was all over the radio, almost inescapable, and I never grew tired of it. So as soon as I could grab a copy on vinyl, I did, and start to finish, good record, and it sounds great too. One of my favorites. Another one that I'm sure probably won't be a surprise to most people. Anybody that knows me or has watched my channel knows I got a soft spot for all this stuff. And here we are, Cinderella, Long Cold Winter. I still remember picking up the cassette of this the day that it came out, and I never realized how good bluesy hard rock could sound. And coming off of Night Songs, which was a great record, man, it was just next step, next level. Long Cold Winter is one of my favorite albums of all time, and it came out in '88. So on August 9th, we got Edie, Brickle, and the New Bohemians, Shooting Rubber Bands at the Stars. This is a really cool album that kind of got lost to time. There were two singles, I believe, on it. I know What I Am and Circle. Great songs. And then I always remember Edie Brickle because one of her later songs was embedded in the Windows 95 CDs when they first came out. And it was that and Weezer Buddy Holly. Good Times, I think, was the song. Wow, I'm really showing off my nerd here. But anyway, this is a great record and one of my favorites. And the very next day, we got Winger. This is a cool album. Winger is one of those bands that kind of became polarizing thanks to Beavis and Butthead and Lars from Metallica, but I still dig them. And this is a great record. Red Beach, I mean, you want to talk about a guitarist. So underrated. And, I mean, Kip Winger, good voice, great bass player. I mean, he was good enough to play bass for Alice Cooper. Um, and, man, the drums on it, Rob, just insane stuff. This is still a good record. All right, I'll admit it. 17 didn't age well, but it's still a great record. Staying in that same genre, Vixen, the all-girl hair band. Man, good stuff. Very talented musicians that kind of didn't get the credit they deserved, but their biggest hit, Edge of a Broken Heart, written by Richard Marx. I mean, how can you go wrong with that? They're still at it. They're still out there. They're still touring. I think they might be down to one original member, but still great stuff. And I love this album. And of course, '88 brought us Metallica and Justice for All. This was the tour that they were on when I saw them with Queensryche, and it was their first full length with Jason Newsted on bass. Great record. No, it wasn't Master of Puppets, but it was a big step. It became much more commercial, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, Ride the Lightning, Kill 'Em All, Master Puppets, absolute masterpieces. This is still a good record. It's got some good stuff on it. Uh, kind of wish we'd be able to hear Jason's bass a little more, but still, awesome record. So here we are in September. Kicks, blow my fuse. You probably can tell by now where a lot of my musical tastes were back then, but this album, this was my gateway to Kicks, and I absolutely love Kicks, and they are one of the bands that I've by far seen the most live. They used to put on such an incredible show. They just retired. I actually saw them on their farewell tour. At one of their later shows in the tour, they played at the York Fair, which was actually the first place I saw them. And this album, man, boy, it takes me back. I just remember riding to school, listening to "Don't Close Your Eyes." Just it took over, and it was a great record, and I still spin it. Another one from September of '88, Bon Jovi, New Jersey. Um, I showed this in another video. My sleeve is awful, but the record is immaculate, and it's first issue, good stuff. Coming off of Slippery When Wet, which was one of the biggest albums of the '80s in general. This was a good follow up. Just a ton of hits, and I I'm not going to be ashamed of my sleeve because the record does sound good. But if I ever see one with a better sleeve, I'll probably pick it up. And I made a whole video where I said sleeves aren't important and you can't play the sleeve. And maybe I'm changing my mind a little because it would be really nice to have a cool sleeve. And I think I owe a lot of that to Hans, my buddy, who's comes from the baseball side of collecting, and everything has to be mint. And maybe it's rubbing off on me. So I'm going to be on the lookout for a new New Jersey just so that I can get a better sleeve. And the fourth and final record from September. Wow, what a great month. So much good music. And this is no exception. Ozzy's No Rest for the Wicked. This was the album that really rekindled my love of everything Ozzy. Not that to discount anything with Jake E. Lee, but when Zakk Wylde came in, I got to see him on this tour. It was the only time, sadly, that I've gotten to see Ozzy so far. Hopefully, we'll get another chance. I will not miss that opportunity. But this is an amazing album, and it just, yeah. Shifting gears again, October brought us U2's Rattle and Hum. And this is one of my buddy Hans's favorite bands. This is a great record, double record. I think I kind of underappreciated it back in the day, but now I love it. Also in October, we got the Bangles Everything. Great record. In Your Room and Eternal Flame were both pretty big hits. They come a long way, and musically this is a much more complete album. And Eternal Flame, that just takes me right back. And ending the year for me, number 20, my last one for the year. This came out in November. I didn't have anything from December. I guess it was a slow Christmas season. But gn'r Lies came out, and it was a huge departure from Appetite for Destruction, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, the acoustic songs were really cool. Patience. I know that if this ever gets a reissue, if it didn't already, if it did, I don't know, but I'm guessing they're going to leave the song "One in a Million" off. Didn't age well. The live stuff on here is insane too. Just one of my favorites from '88, and I mean, it was kind of the heyday of Guns N' Roses. So that's it. That's it for me. 1988, my 20 favorite. Hope you enjoyed the video. And there's 2 years I really wanted to. 1991 and 1994. They're hopefully going to be my next, but I have some glaring omissions that I have to fill first. But I did a poll on my community tab, and 91 won. So it's definitely going to get done, but I've got some glaring holes I got to fill first. Ones that I have on CD, but I really want them on record. So thanks for watching. See you next time. So I know. I say all the time I'm an old metalhead, and Paula Abdul was on my list. I stand by it.